when God says go. All right. Now, I'm going to start off with a pretty simple question. If God gave you a direction for your life today, but refused to tell you how it ends, would you still follow? All right, William. Would you follow if God told you to do something with no clear motivation or end? Would you just blindly do it? Would you? Are you sure? You don't know? Okay. How about you, Rebecca? If your friend told you to do something and then you have no idea why, yeah, but God is your friend. If your friend told you to do something, would you do it for them just out of friendship? Or if they told you like, Rebecca, I need you to go to McDonald's right now, would you drop everything and go to McDonald's for them? Now, if God told you to go to McDonald's without any end, would you do it? Okay. So, some examples here. So how many of you look up the ending before watching a movie? Some people just hate spoilers. William, do you look up the ending? Because I know you do. Yeah. Yeah, me too. I just look up the endings. All right. And if you got into a school you've never heard of, would you still go? Like let's say you just got accepted to like I don't know like I don't know like the McDonald's University, and you're like, what is this? Like, would you go? Yeah, probably not. Yeah, that's good. And I think this is probably because usually in life we kind of want to know what the destination is, and we also want to know like the timeline of things. When things are going to happen because we like guarantees and we like having backup plans. But in today's story, we're gonna talk about a man who received none of that from God, and let's see what happens. All right, and we're gonna read from Genesis 12 verses 1 through 5. I'll just read it. All right, the Lord had said to Abram, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all peoples on earth will be blessed through you." All right, so pretty. So Abram went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he set out from Haran. He took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, all the possessions they had accumulated, and the people they had acquired in Haran. And they set out for the land of Canaan, and they arrived there. All right, so pretty basic question. What's going on in this story? What? They're moving? Yeah. So basically, what's happening is God says to this guy Abram, or he's later called Abraham. He says, move out of your country. He's like, go to a different place. Leave your family. Well, he doesn't really like say you can bring his family. Leave what is familiar, basically. But God really never really says like what the end destination is. He says just go to this promised land, right? So here we're gonna talk about point one. God gave a promise before giving details. He basically just said, "Hey, Abram, get up and grab your family and go here to this land that I'm calling the promised land." But like, you have no idea what this place actually is. So Abraham, he received two things. He received a command to go, and he also received a promise that this is going to be the land of his descendants. And basically, anybody who comes through Abraham will be a blessing, and anyone who curses him will be cursed. But he doesn't really tell him like why to go. He doesn't give a complete explanation. Just like, hey, you, this random person, should just go there. And then let's continue. God did not show, where every step would be, or how long it would really take, or what kind of problems would come out of this. He just said, "Go." And what was special about Abraham was that he actually just went. And then let's continue this story. All right. This is Genesis 12, 6 through 9. It's just a continuation. So Abram traveled through the land as far as the site of the great tree of Morah at Shechem. At the time the Canaanites were in the land, the Lord appeared to Abram and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." So he built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. Now, from there he went on toward the hills east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. There he built an altar to the Lord and called on the name of the Lord. Then Abram set out and continued toward Negev. All right, same question. What just happened? Yeah. So he got to the land of Canaan, and what happened was, he didn't beforehand. He didn't really explain to Abraham why he was moving or like why he should move. But he actually told him a little bit more afterwards. What happened? He basically said that this is going to be the land of your descendants, and you're going to basically populate here, and it's going to be your land. And I guess this pattern appears throughout the scripture where God basically tells someone to do something. And then if they do it, God will reveal the rewards of doing so afterwards. And sometimes God does not show the entire staircase, of how to get somewhere or all the difficulties getting there. But he only shows you the next step. So let's move on to point 2. Abraham kept moving even without fully understanding why. So I guess what stands out about his response to God telling him to go do something is that Abraham actually was able to do it. He trusted in the Lord despite not knowing what the Lord actually wanted. And I guess my question to you guys is: are there any examples in your life where you decided to trust God on something, without fully knowing if you were prepared or ready? Because the whole thing is about whether you're ready or not. And sometimes you kind of just gotta go, even if you're not ready. William, do you have an example of a time in your life, a general example, yeah, where you're not fully prepared? I'll give an example, I guess, that I just thought of right now. So I guess I took the MCAT, which is the super big medical exam. It's like taking your SAT, but like a million times worse. But it's kind of the same thing, except it's kind of impossible to know everything on the MCAT. It's physically impossible to know everything. So you're never actually going to be prepared for the exam. It's like going into SAT with half studying. So it's pretty tough. But I think you kind of just gotta trust in the process. That whatever you do know is going to be enough. You kind of gotta, at some point, you just gotta trust in God that whatever you get is what you get. And after taking the exam, I actually did fine. So you know, sometimes you just gotta trust in the process. You can't fully know everything. And then let's keep on moving. Abraham, he continued not because he knew everything, but because he trusted who called him. So, really, sometimes you do just gotta trust in God for things. And even if you feel like you're unprepared for something, sometimes you gotta trust in the Lord. Now, Rebecca, is there an instance in your life where you didn't feel prepared for something and you just trusted that you got this, can you tell me what happened? Did you take your regents yet? Did you feel ready for your regents? Your, what was that, Earth and Space Science regents? Did you feel like you knew everything on that exam, that when you went into it the day before, you're like, oh, I got this? Or you studied the day before, but did you feel confident that everything you studied would be on the exam, and the test was nothing like what you studied? Oh, classic. Yeah. Basically, even though if you try to prepare as much as you can, you really never know what's going to happen. So at some point, you just have to trust in the Lord. And that's pretty difficult because our instincts say that, once you know everything, then you'll act. But really, you can't do that in life. You know, otherwise you'll get nothing done. So basically, faith tells us that we must act and trust in God, even if we don't fully understand what His plans are yet. All right, let's move on. We're going to read from Genesis 13, verses 14 to 18. All right. The Lord said to Abram after Lot had parted from him. So this is, they arrived in Canaan. All right. Look around from where you are to the north and south, to the east and west. All the land that you see, I will give to you and your offspring forever. I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted. Go, walk through the length and breadth of the land, for I am giving it to you. So Abram went to live near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron, where he pitched his tents. There he built an altar to the Lord. All right. So God basically shows Abraham more of what he promised. So essentially, what he promised to Abraham was that, his descendants will basically just rule over that area, that he will have a lot of children, and which was something that he actually wanted because he was 75 at the time. But only after Abraham had already started walking towards, his journey. I guess this is important because Abraham did not receive the full picture at the beginning, and it was only after he arrived at Canaan did God tell him, like, yo, this is all yours. You're gonna have so many descendants, and your bloodline is gonna be very important. All right, I think this is our final point. Point 3. Following God is about trust and not total certainty. So Abraham never, yet again, the story, he never received a complete roadmap or a picture. Instead, each step became an opportunity to trust. And, that can feel really kind of uncomfortable for us. And I guess on my way here, William told me another story about Abraham that I'm just going to relay to you guys really quickly, which is, I think it's it's like a pretty famous story. It's about Abraham and his son, Isaac. So essentially, Abraham really wanted a child at like 100, and then God was like, "I'll give you a child. I'll give you this guy." So he had one kid. His name was Isaac, and then when Isaac was like a teenager, God basically came down and was like Abraham, I want you to like kill your kid. Like I want you to bring your kid up to the altar and sacrifice him to me. And he didn't say why. He just said, I want you to go grab your one and only son and basically kill him at the altar. And then what Abraham did was he grabbed his one and only son, he bound him with rope, and he brought him up to a mountain to sacrifice him to the Lord. Because he fully trusted the Lord's plan. This was the son that God basically said, hey, you will only have this one son, and through this son, all your descendants will come from him. And I guess it was a really strange plan, but Abraham did it regardless. He grabbed his son, went up to the mountain, and tried to sacrifice him. And at the very last second, an angel came in and stopped Abraham and basically said, "Yo, this was all a test to see if you would trust the Lord." And I think the value in that story is that the whole thing was that God already told Abraham, you will have like thousands of descendants, and those descendants will all come through Isaac. So it makes no sense that God wanted to kill Isaac, because then he would go against this promise. But the whole thing was to basically trust in God, that God has a plan, and there's a certain logic to it. But basically, Abraham is like the prime example of trusting in the Lord without knowing. Now, I guess the whole thing about this story is that maybe your goal looks a little different. Maybe when God tells you to do something, maybe it looks a little different than just like moving to a different country or like, doing something for him. So, William, what are some goals in your life? What are some things in your life that you feel like God wants you to do, but you're like too scared to do it, I'm sure you have something. Yes. I'm about to just start calling. Going back to school, yeah, is that something where you feel like, that's your calling? Yeah, I trust in the process. All right, Steven, what are some goals in your life? What are some things that you feel like is a calling from God in your life? It could be anything. It can be anything, Steven. Steven, what do you major? Do you feel like that's your calling? Do you think God wants you to do that? Is that something where you feel like this is for me? Is that your goal? Oh, you really love business and administration. Okay, that's good. I think it's good to major in something that you like. All right. So I guess the final points here is that we must choose integrity even when nobody else is looking. So maybe a goal can be like if you see something happening that you think is wrong, you're able to stop it even when there's no one there to praise you. Or stepping into a new season of life, like getting a job or going to school again, or making decisions about your future. Same kind of similar. But essentially, we must trust God even when the outcomes feel unclear. Now, just to close off, we may want all the answers, but sometimes God simply just says, you gotta take the next faithful step. You just gotta trust in the process and trust in the Lord that He will take care of you. All right, closing. Uh, just to sum up the entire story, Abraham left what he was, where he was very comfortable in, um, and he left because the Lord told him to, not because he really knew that God had anything planned for him. God basically just told him that you should trust in me, go to my land, my promised land, and years later, Abraham looks back and he realized that like God had actually promised him a lot of things. He promised him a lot of land, and he promised him that he would have a lot of descendants. So, I guess we have one final question that kind of just repeats the same theme. Would you still follow if God showed you only the next step, but not really the whole plan? Would you, William? Really? Okay, let me pick someone else. You. Do you feel confident in your life plans? Not really. Do you believe that you'll be taken care of by God? Like, do you trust in the process? Like even if you're like still in school or you don't have a job or anything, you trust in the process that eventually you'll get a job, you'll be happy, you'll get the life that you wanted.